Hi there. It is 11:35 p.m. on a Saturday. It is March the 13th, 2021. I think daylight saving time happens in a few hours. Uh, this is Heather, obviously, hopefully, if you don't know. I want to try something. Just because I've been using my YouTube channel as a place to do certain different things. Um, and what I want to try is I want to read something to you, which is something that I wrote recently, which is to say that I don't want to make a video essay. So I'm probably just going to put some small stuff behind this. But I'm wondering if, in the moments when I write stuff, which I'll be honest, now that I don't really do criticism, I don't know if people read what I write or if they care that I write anything. But I'm going to read what I wrote. And I'm going to do it in one take. And I'm just going to go for it. So this is what it is. It's a long preamble beforehand. And we'll leave in all the messiness that goes with it, including this bad intro. So this is a piece that I titled What I Found in the Leaves. Last August, as the lease to my apartment was about to end, the roof began to smolder until the place I lived in was full of smoke. When all was settled and done, my apartment had no roof. My room was spared and most of my things were okay. This part of the story being set in late capitalism, I am required to assure you that all the things I purchased were okay too. And I decided to leave New York City and return to New England with my family. One of the first things I did when I arrived was look at the sky and imagine I was up there. Falling or sailing or flying, it didn't really matter. I wanted to touch a cloud, to feel the whipping wind. I promise this is leading to something. In the months since, in spite of my proximity to my family, in spite of my comfort, in spite of the arrival of my nephew into this world, a child who I would climb a mountain and punch God for if I needed to, and in spite of a happy job, I have spiraled into depression. My solution was work and writing. To throw myself into my job and to, somewhat foolishly, take on the task of novelizing my favorite game, Skies of Arcadia. Because if you've read my work long enough, it always comes back to Arcadia. I'm proud of that project, but it sparked a yearning in me. This isn't part of the writing, by the way, but I will also say that project terrifies me. The scale of it terrifies me. But it did spark a yearning in me to truly connect to the world that I was writing about. It lit a fire. Before we proceed, let me be clear that my depression, by my depression, I don't mean the woes of pandemic living or some disaffection with the reality of entering my 30s. I mean a deep and painful darkness, with all of the implications therein. Regardless of my efforts to combat it, it has drained me to the point that I burnt myself out, and with some prodding from my boss, I finally took a vacation, which I am currently on, which I am still currently on. This is not the first time this series of events has played out, which is to say, it happened at Kotaku more than once. More than once, people had to tell me to stop. Where am I? There we go. So I made a promise to myself when I started this vacation, which was no writing. I'm breaking it. I broke it, and I'm sort of breaking another rule of no more work right now because I found yet again a moment where I need to desperately drain the wonder in my heart and attempt to explain to you that I think there are magical things in the world, and that I believe there is some type of magic in art, in that strange alchemic or shamanistic way, that transfers to us. This will be my second attempt to explain it. I think I deleted the first one, and it'll be the second attempt to explain what this has to do with video games. This is in a parenthetical. Forgive the indulgence of this introduction, by the way. An editor would have surely cut it, but I need you to understand two things. I am in pain. And there is a part of that pain which I think points to something important. This is a story of ritual and tea, of how my senses and imagination came together to send me on a journey around a fictional world in search of heroes who both do and do not exist. As part of my love for Skies of Arcadia, I've become something of a paraphernalia collector. I bought an old light novel from eBay. I have it right here. Actually, this is, I don't know if you can hear that. That is, it's called Vise's Sky Pirate Adventure. I got it confused. There's Kaizoku and Kuzoku, or something like that. I got confused. Kaizoku is pirate, and this one says, I think Kuzoku, which I was very confused about. I was like, why does it not say just normal pirate? And then I realized they're saying Sky Pirate. That's a digression, though. I was really fun. I was very glad to get that. I used my rudimentary Japanese skills, which are very bad, to set up a warehouse Dropbox so that 2 fan magazines, which I also have right in front of me, could be sent to that Dropbox and then shipped to America, where I have them now. And I have also been drinking tea based off of the game. I just had a cup a little while before I started to record this, going off script a little again. At the time, I wanted to collect these little tins. You can hear that maybe. These little tins that the tea came in. They have these little pictures of the characters on them. I thought they would be excellent collector's items. But what I found when I drank the first round of tea was that it was art unto itself. There were balances of flavors and spices and blends that symbolized characters and connected me to them. So, for instance, if I reach over here, this is for Fina, who's my favorite character in any game. White blueberry, chamomile, lemongrass, lavender flowers, and lemon balm. I gave a really good review to this one. The lady who makes the tea, she's a wonderful lady. Has not changed the recipe of the tea. She's tweaked some of the others, but not this one, because I said it was really, really good. Which, just so you know, these teas were crafted by a dedicated fan and a fellow writer, because there is a fandom, and I know a lot of those people now. I don't really have the time to sit and research, and I didn't have the time to sit and research all the ways in which tea is used in ritual, which is probably every possible fucking way, because I'm tired and older and depressed and writing a blog post, and now reading that blog post that perhaps 30 people will read, that like 30 people will read, and like 5 of you will listen to. I don't know if anybody cares about the work I do anymore. Regardless, to my delight, I found that the team... now I'm just stuttering and slipping, but that's fine. That's part of the charm, maybe. I found that the tea maker had created blends based off the various moons that dot Arcadia's sky. For those of you who don't know the game, which I assume is many of you, each of the nations of the world rest under a magical moon. There's 6 of them, with one of them a black moon that's theorized to have been gone missing. Fans love to theorize about the black moon. I have my own theory about what happens at the black moon. But this was an opportunity for a journey. I bought the teas based on each moon, and one which was based on the world itself. There was just a blend called Arcadia. I got that one too. I'm going to post a separate collection of all my individual tastings and reviews later, but you can find them on Twitter. The important thing is this. I had been given an amazing gift. With these teas, I had something of that digital world, which was actual. When we play games, we, if I can make some assumptions, right? We hear them or see them, and with certain haptics, we feel them maybe, but we don't smell them or taste them or literally consume them. This was different. It was 8 teas, 8 chances to smell and taste that wonderful world that had sort of captured my imagination ever since I finished the game when I was 11. I am in fact in the same room right now, looking in the same direction, at least, not at the same television as when I finished that game years ago. But the teas were a nice thing. They gave me a chance to do the thing I wanted, which was to touch the clouds. Now we get to the more pretentious part of what I wrote, which is, I quote something. I say, "Quem queritas." This is a quote in like Easter liturgical stuff. It's not like a real thing that was said. Who knows what was actually said, or if there actually are angels, but it's a quote that an angel says to the 3 Marys when they are visiting Christ's tomb after his passion. There's his mother, the Virgin Mary. There's Mary Magdalene, the one, he saved her when people were going to throw stones at her. He said, "He who was without sin cast the first stone," all that stuff, that Mary. And then there was Mary, who's the sister of Lazarus, who Christ brought back to life after his death. It was one of his biggest miracles. I think Lazarus was dead for about 4 days. He brought him back to life. He came out of his tomb. It was a whole big deal. But quem queritas means, whom do you seek? So I was journeying, 1 teacup at a time, around Arcadia. And first off script again, I don't know. It was fucking awesome. From continent to continent, I tasted their spices. I experienced hints of their values and their cultures as expressed through this tea. And yes, I understand that the fact that it's tea is kind of weird and colonial, and I don't have time to untangle that. Skies of Arcadia is a game that, because it is set in an age of discovery, actually does talk about colonialism in certain ways. One of the things I like best about the game is that our heroes respect the cultures of the places that they go. The villains don't. You can tell what side the game is on in terms of cultural interaction. But as I drank the tea, the question played in my mind. Quem queritas? Whom was I seeking? The answer is complex. First, I was seeking something of myself. I was seeking the part of me that understood magic and wonder. I hadn't lost this part of myself, but I had probably in my depression misplaced it a little. A little. I think my voice just dropped there. It's a part of me that believes in the soul, which I think I do believe in souls, and which believes that art, in allowing the complex interaction of creators and characters with players, performs some type of soul magic. Music and other things do this too. I think that art impresses upon us real and actual changes, the same way that I want to be clear here, because maybe in my writing I wasn't. I mean it that it's just as real as a chemical reaction. So I was seeking that piece of me. I was seeking the part of me that understood that with each cup, I was performing some sort of ritual that brought about a communion with a distant world. I was aware of that part of me, but I was searching for an even deeper part of me that understood it. I was searching for the younger part of me that believed in wonderful things, because I am in my 30s and the world is in a weird state. And sometimes it's hard to believe in wonderful things. I drank the teas in the order that Vise and his crew traveled the world. And in doing so, I kind of performed another part of a greater ritual, which was a preservation of their journey. I was retracing their steps. And I communed with distant places, and I followed in their footsteps. And that answers the second half of the question, whom did I seek? I sought my heroes. I sought the adventurous Vise and his dogged determinism. I sought the firecracker Aika and her swift rushes to action. And I sought Fina, the woman who I wish I could be. Feminine, slight, kind, beautiful, brave, all these things that I've had. I don't know, I've been on T for like 5 years now, maybe a little bit more. I still haven't gotten it down. Wish I could be like her. Quem queritas. All of this sounds like nonsense. And when I try to explain the nonsense, I feel a deep embarrassment. To care about anything in the 21st century, particularly in America, is to be weak. To be publicly vulnerable is to make yourself into a target. Instead, you have to be hard and solid as a rock. You can't believe in magic, or else you are doomed. But here I was, chasing after a part of myself and chasing my heroes one cup at a time. And I need you to understand that it hurt to do that. This is out of date, but this is a true story. I went to the corner store to buy some energy drinks because now that I can't just go to like a bodega for some kombucha like some Brooklyn hipster, I drink a lot of energy drinks. When I got back home, my father asked, "Did you find what you were looking for?" And I told him, "That's a very complicated question." So, almost 20 minutes in, let me explain. Let me do the thing that I feel I can't do well anymore. Because I think doing the work for so long broke a little part of me. Which is to say, let's do some games criticism. In the world of games, the entities we control exist as two distinct things. They first exist as what we understand as actors, which is to say that they are manipulatable bodies. They are guided by code and controller inputs that we guide around as we see fit. In this way, players have extraordinary power, and in some ways it is a very fraught and uncomfortable power. We can, as Soulja Boy did, leave Braid's protagonist in a perpetual flux state, jumping and rewinding, back and forth and back. Ain't no point to the game. They can be eternal puppets for our amusement, avatars for our power fantasies. Sometimes, in the case of games like Skyrim, our controllable actors they're just little more than flesh suits that we kind of slip on. Actors are more than anything else just avatars. They are puppets. They are when a thing is an actor, and it's a game design term too. We talk about actors in scenes when we're designing games, like actually in game design. We're just talking about things that we can move around, or at least in games criticism, this is what I mean explicitly. But actors in games are just the things that we place in there that we can then program and make them do whatever we want. But there's a snag to this. Video game actors are also characters within their worlds, which I stress are fictional. They have motivations and wants and desires and dreams. They want to live and grow and succeed. Cloud Strife wants to defeat Sephiroth and uncover the truth about himself. Joel wants to protect Ellie and survive in a cruel world. Ellie, oh, you don't know how much I love you. Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption, wants to find a calmer life and redemption for his sins. They are, when we think about them as characters, they're people. But since they're also actors, we can deny them their hopes and dreams whenever we want. We can have Cloud while away his days, gambling at the Gold Saucer, and if we want to, we can force Arthur Morgan to murder the population of an entire town. The core truth of a player's relationship to the character is this, and this is what's fraught and scary to me. We decide if their dreams are fulfilled. I find that troubling, and I will try to explain why. But let's be really clear here for a second. I do not think that characters in games are sentient entities. I don't think that they are like you or me. I don't think they are beings possessed of a soul or something. I don't think they are thinking creatures. I outlined this relationship, the thing that went over here, characters and actors and everything. I outlined this relationship of players and characters in a GDC talk a few years ago. I very dramatically used the phrase players are tyrants, and I used other highly rhetorical terms, and my reward for that was the ridicule of countless gamers who questioned my sanity. Some of them even made videos about my presentation. It was a weird time. People were calling me crazy, and random people jumped to my defense. Like David Jaffe jumped to my defense, I think, and was like, don't you understand? She's talking rhetorically. And like everyone I talked to who was there thought the talk was good, but gamers thought I was a crazy lady. It was hell. To be a woman, perhaps especially to be a progressively minded woman, a trans woman in games, is to know and experience a very real hell. To this day, I can't go a single week, without some type of horrid experience on the internet. Some judgment of my worth, some assumption about my competency, or in the worst cases, proclamations about my right to live. Trigger warning or whatever. I've had people threaten to kill me. One time I was streaming Detroit, the David Cage game, and I got a message from someone saying that they hoped I would die in a mass shooting. I paused the stream for a little while after that one. No doubt, this is part of why I needed my vacation. And like I said, not making any edits to this, so let's just keep on going. But the reason I find the player-character-actor relationship troubling is not just the abstract notion or the thought experiments that elicit like this really fun but meaningless philosophical natter of like, what does it mean to control a person? The reason I find that relationship troubling, or at least really complicated, is because for all of their fiction, the characters in games can give us very real things. They can, through some type of power, a deep power found in the act of storytelling itself, some sort of old magic, they can impart aspects of themselves onto us. For instance, they can teach us lessons that we then carry into the rest of our lives. My father, for reasons I cannot recall, and all I remember is that we were driving in a car. He told me the meaning of life is to serve others. He doesn't know it, but that truism has been etched upon my soul. I believe it. I think he's right. So that is like a thing that my father has given to me. But my father is not the only person to have ever etched something onto my soul. Vise, that dashing pirate, has etched many things onto my soul. For instance, this is a quote from the game, "Impossible is just a word people use to make themselves feel better when they quit." That's etched on my soul too. I believe in that. I think when you start something, you have to finish it. That's etched onto my soul just as much as anything my father has taught me. And so we come to the heart of it, which is, it's just questions. What does it mean that Vise can so alter my being and my values, and that he can do it with the same strength and quote-unquote realness of my father? What does it mean for a character who is also very often an actor that I guide in Skies of Arcadia? I can make him run in circles all I want or whatever, right? Like, I get to decide whether he fights in a fight or runs away from a random battle. Vise doesn't get to choose that. But what does it mean for him to give me such a powerful gift? Because I want to be clear about something else. I think that values are real things. I believe that real things exist. When I try to explain, by the way, that I believe certain things are like actually objectively true, for instance, that looking at a landscape means that we are looking at something real, which for the record doesn't mean that I think the landscape is the real thing. I just mean that we are perceiving a thing that is actual. What we see as a landscape could actually be a giant monster, but our brain processes it as a landscape. I don't care. I think there's an actual thing there. I think there's objective realities. And among the things that are objective and have weight are things like values, right? I tend to, much to probably a lot of people's consternation, think of things in terms of moral imperatives. Immanuel Kant left a mark on me, that fucking bastard. But when I tried to explain that I thought that some things were real, right? Like, a painting of a landscape is not the same thing as the landscape. I had an entire afternoon with former Jeopardy contestant Arthur Chu and a cohort of Twitteristas attacking my philosophical surety. Because again, fuck the internet. But I digress. Let's explore. I believe in the realness of things. And you probably could hear it in my voice today. I believe in the realness of things because of the depth of the emotions that those things make me feel. And I utterly refuse to believe that life is just endorphins, hormones, and instinct. I think that music, the fact that music or games or anything else can make us weep for joy or feel any other type of emotion is proof positive to me of the existence of a soul. I believe souls are a thing. I think there is an ineffable thing that exists, which is, quote unquote, us. There is something about you that is undeniably you. There is something about me that is undeniably me. There's an essence. Not necessarily something that is all-enduring or eternal, but certainly something that exists. For all I know, the reality of it is it's the electrical activity of the brain. Right, but that energy is still you, right? I think for my understanding of art to be what it is, I have to believe in the existence of a soul. I was, if anything else, raised Catholic. But because souls exist, it means that they can be acted upon. At least I think so. And I know this, or at least I think this, because my father and his truism changed my soul. It changed a fundamental part of what I believe in. It changed the core of me. And I know this because Vise and the others in their journey gave me so many other lessons and things that fundamentally altered my fabric of being. Very often I tell people the important pieces of art are the things that make you. Right? That's what makes art beautiful. I've written that games criticism is a kindness, that it seeks the good in art and attacks the banal, explicitly because art is beautiful. Which is to say, for a tangent, by the way, that I don't have time for critics who are just angry at shit. If you're writing Twitter threads about how much you think shit is fucking garbage, I don't got time for it anymore. Block me. Some of you have. I don't care. It's like, what the fuck ever. Save that anger for the things that really matter, because sometimes there are egregious things. Get mad at 6 Days in Fallujah or whatever. Like, don't get mad about, I don't know, Final Fantasy 14. I'm not just saying that because I like it. Just fucking chill out. I'm losing it. But if games criticism is a kindness and art is beautiful, then I want to suggest something else, which is that art is magical. It alters us. And it doesn't do this metaphorically, but it does it in ways that affect our soul. And that brings us back to characters and actors. I control Vise, since he's an actor and I'm a player, but he is also a character with dreams and hopes and personalities and values. Wonderful values which he has shared with me. So what does it mean that I can send actors to their doom? What does it mean that I can control them utterly when I know for a fact that they can affect and change me as well? I don't have any clean answers for this, and I don't think maybe there are any. Perhaps all I've written and all I have done with this recording is nothing but silliness. Even as I beg you to understand what I am saying and what I'm trying to tell, please understand it. Understand the power of stories. Understand it in the way that Tolkien did when he said, creative fantasy, mainly because it is trying to do something else, may open your hoard and let all the locked things fly away like caged birds. Understand that I'm telling you that the locked things, are the things that are inside your heart and soul. And that just as a lover or parent or mentor can open up that hoard and let those things fly free, so can the people we meet on our fictional journeys. Vise is not just the captain of a ship, he's my captain. And that means something. Art is ritual, and play is ritual. In creation, we place something of ourselves into another thing. In the act of play, we allow ourselves to be transmuted and changed. This is magic of a sort. I'm left wanting, however. I followed the path of my heroes in as literal a way as I could. I tasted where they went. I pulled on new senses to understand the world they lived in, and I touched the sky that they sailed in for a fleeting moment. Oh my God, what a beautiful moment. But I can't reach them. I am Tantalus in the mire. I am ever reaching, ever chasing for the moment that I can be the person that my heroes trusted me to become. Note by musical note when I listen to a soundtrack, or word for written word when I write my fan fiction, or teacup by teacup, I am chasing after my captain. This is a true story. When I went back to my apartment the day after the fire, I had stayed at Danielle Riendo's place on her couch. She lived right around the corner from me. I called her up. I said, hey, there's been a situation. And she very kindly let me into her home. And I slept there. But I went back to the apartment the day after the fire. And again, the roof was fucking gone. And I looked up at the spot where the roof used to be, and all I could see was the blue sky. And when you looked at it the right way, it looked like something that you could fall into. So perhaps in some superficial ways, I have actually shared something with my heroes now, something different. I've tasted something they have, even though the tea obviously isn't actually from Arcadia. It was just a conduit to my imagination, to the transformed parts of my soul. But I couldn't find my captain, and I could not find myself, which is why it hurts, in spite of how wonderful it was. Quem queritas? He is not here. So, I will just keep sailing after him. I guess that was an interesting reading. Is that criticism now? Are we allowed to do criticism like this? With this energy? I did this once with another thing. Right, I showed this breath of emotion once, another time, and I think people thought it was weird. I'm just reading what I wrote, and you know, I'll probably put some generic footage underneath this. If you've made it this far, it's almost like 40 minutes. Thank you. You're awesome. The world is crappy, and I don't know where I belong. I love the work I do. I love the work I do. So excited for Psychonauts and helping out folks. But also, I had to talk about this. And two of you will listen to this. If you've made it this far, congratulations. But that was that. It is now 12:12 a.m., which I think daylight saving time might have affected. I have no freaking clue. I'll see you around whenever I see you. Until then, be audacious in all things.